in case you're wondering, this is a member of the Kenyan Senate, a very senior member of the government, and she is smoking drugs in public. Now, I want you to think of the moral bankruptcy of the elite that rules Kenya, that this lady was nominated by the ruling party to become a senator. And this is the example she's setting for our young women in Kenya. I want you to think of the erosion of values, the erosion of culture, the erosion of anything that is good and positive, and its replacement by everything that is degenerate, unacceptable, wicked, ugly, and destructive. So these people do have an agenda. There's a method to their madness. This is not just random when you see them doing this, because don't forget that during the election, there was a major presidential candidate whose whole platform was pushing drugs. So you need to look at this from a global perspective. In other words, these people are controlled from the outside of Kenya, right? They are at the beck and call of the Americans through the CIA. Now, for you to understand what they're doing, you need to understand what happened to black people in America. You need to understand that it's the government of the United States that was pushing drugs into black communities throughout the 1980s as a way of keeping them perpetually weak. So you keep your enemy. Basically, drugs are being used as chemical warfare. So you unleash drugs on a population in order to weaken it morally, physically, financially, and most crucially, politically. Because if most people are on drugs, they don't have time to think about the policies that are being pursued by the state. So the Americans do things globally. They start locally and then they extend it globally. So if you want to know what will happen to your African population, look at what the Americans have been doing to their own black population. So in this case, the Americans made the government, that is, made the use of drugs by black people very popular. So they recruited the influencers of that time, the musicians, the rappers, and people like that, and had them constantly displaying the use of drugs, singing about drugs, and encouraging the population to participate in the use and abuse of drugs. Now, we are seeing the same phenomenon in Kenya because the elite of Kenya is totally sold out to the West. So in this case, the elite itself is pushing for drug use and abuse by the youth. But when you look at the policies pursued by the Chinese government, as an example, you'll see that they push their youth to be innovative, to be clever, to be productive, and to make something of their lives. And they really push this patriotic theme that China should rule the earth. But when you look at what our elite is pushing our youth to do, they push two things: religion and degeneracy. So in religion, they encourage young people to worship European statues. The god of the country is a European statue, right? So once you leave religion, you enter not into African centeredness, no, or African consciousness, no. You enter immediately into Western degeneracy, which, as you can see, is being pushed from the highest levels. Now, the interesting thing is that when you meet regime members, very senior regime members, they all carry Bibles, but none of them is a Christian. So it's a very Machiavellian scheme that they do, like appear holy but be wicked underneath, because they know that the bulk of the population is not very clever and will not catch on to this. So we need to wake up and be aware of the elite's agenda to turn our country upside down and to push degeneracy by every means possible as a way of demoralizing the population for the Western agenda, whatever the agenda is. So I'm just pointing out that they do have an agenda. You may not have an agenda. You may think that's a big joke, but it's not a joke. They will push this agenda until they destroy us. So if you're a patriotic Kenyan, you need to wake up and you need to condemn this sort of behavior, not support, don't like, don't praise. Any sort of degeneracy needs to be opposed, especially if you're a man. You need to be able to stand up for your culture. I know it's difficult for you because you're not trained to stand up for anything. You spend your life on your knees, but I'm just saying it's time to stand up. This whatever is going on has gone on long enough. It's time the real men of Kenya stood up and stopped it.